And we are really the sculptors of our own body.
Right.
Every person, given normal health, can achieve things that they wouldn't even have believed possible.
Hey everybody, this is the Health Smoke and Mirrors podcast, where we guide you in living a healthy life in mind, body, and spirit. I'm your host, Dr. Michael J. Sardo, physical therapist. My goal is to shine light on the confusion in the health and fitness industry, as well as modern medicine and the traditional healthcare system. I'd like to educate you how to make the best choices for your mind, body, and spirit. I hope you enjoy the show and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Dr. Michael J. Sardo, and Instagram at DocSardoFitDPT. Enjoy the show.
So, Rich, how long have you been involved with the health and wellness industry and fitness?
A very long time. as you know, Mike, in February I'm going to turn 87.
Yeah.
And I've been involved with it. I guess you want to call it involved since I've probably been about 13 years old. You know, when I was growing up, I couldn't make any of the teams in school. I couldn't make a basketball team, a football team, nothing. I don't think I had one athletic gene. And I came across some magazines that were published called Physical Culture. And it was written by a guy, the magazine was published by a guy by the name of Bernard McFadden. And I started reading those magazines and I reread it. And it really helped me. You've heard of the Charles Atlas course.
Yeah.
Everybody's heard of that.
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, Charles Atlas was an Italian immigrant. His real name was Angelo Siciliano.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was a protege of McFadden. He won McFadden had a perfect man, perfect woman contest. This was back in 1903, I believe in 1904.
Wow.
And then after that, Angelo came in, a.k.a. Charles Atlas,
Yeah.
and he won a couple. And then McFadden came to the conclusion that nobody could beat him. I mean, he was just that good.
Mm-hmm.
And between the two of them, they worked out that system called dynamic tension, where you put one muscle against the other. Obviously, nobody can see me now, but where you pit one muscle against the other. So everything is body weight.
Right.
I don't believe Atlas built his physique completely on body weight exercises. I believe he also lifted weights. But he was probably, in the first half of the 20th century, the most successful person as far as fitness is concerned.
Yeah.
Every young boy bought the Charles Atlas course. And I was one of them.
Yeah.
And then I, like Atlas himself, I graduated to weights.
Mm-hmm.
And to cut to the chase on bodybuilding, which was my entire goal as a teenager, the young kid that couldn't make a team in school, by the time I was 19, was a professional athlete. I was making money as an athlete, a professional wrestler.
Okay.
And I wrestled all around. I wrestled in southern Ontario up to Toronto, all over the Northeast. I wrestled some of the biggest names in the business. And I remember the first night, and I was at the Buffalo War Memorial Auditorium, and there were probably over 10,000 people there. And I remember walking out into the ring, standing there waiting for my opponent. And I said to myself, you're the guy that couldn't even make a baseball team or a football team.
Yeah.
And now you got 10,000 people watching you because of your athletic ability.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized at that point, and this is a quote, but I'm going to steal it. It's a McFadden quote. And we are really the sculptors of our own body.
Right.
Every person, given normal health, can achieve things that they wouldn't even have believed possible simply by the right exercise and the right diet. And going along with that, we're also the authors of our own destiny.
Mm-hmm.
We really do create our own destiny via good decisions or bad decisions.
Yeah.
We create our life, and we create our body, and we create our health.
I agree. That's a big part of it, is being able to stay fit. And it used to be way back when people were overweight, it was a sign of wealth, and
Exactly.
being prosperous, and that's, I mean, it couldn't be further from the truth. Having a fit, athletic body is more of that.
You're right. Obesity was a sign of wealth.
Yeah.
It meant you ate good. And here's a little aside. You live in Florida now.
Yeah.
And going back to the early 1900s, anybody who sported a tan was usually a laborer or a farm worker. When Florida started to become a mecca for rich people, especially down in the Palm Beach area,
Mm-hmm.
and they started coming back to the Northeast with tans,
Yeah.
the tan became a status symbol. So people who would never go out in the sun, women carried parasols to shield the sun.
Yeah.
They wore gloves on their hands so they wouldn't get any sun on their hands. And all of a sudden, tanning became a status symbol.
Yeah, a lot of Asian cultures don't. They're very protective of their skin because it's so fair, and
Yes.
that to them is still something that's recognized. If you're tan, you're a laborer,
Yes,
and they don't like to have that.
that's
Yeah,
right.
That's really interesting to bring that up and see how there's been a huge shift in culture and what's acceptable and what's not in the way we look and how we present ourselves.
And you have to remember that most of the wealthy people there were from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
A good portion of them were British descent,
Yeah.
who did not tan. So when these people had a tan and they were multimillionaires, boom, all of a sudden that was
Yeah.
very, very popular
Yeah.
to have a tan, And I think one thing that the doctors have done is certainly too much sun can be harmful.
Mhm.
Okay, with my ethnic background, it could be even more harmful. I'm half German, I'm half Irish,
Right.
but I've had a good tan since I've been like 15 years old, and I go out and I lay in the sun all the time. I have had a few little things on my face, little squamous cells or basal cells, things along that line. But the fact is that they've done a great injustice to the people. I'm going to go to today right now
Yeah.
and talk about COVID. One of the biggest factors in COVID, and there's one professor at the University of Buffalo who they do not agree with, and he is saying that, and I wish I had his name, I don't. I just heard it the other day. He was talking on the radio. Vitamin D
Mhm.
deficiency opens the door to COVID.
Yep.
And-
That is.
You have to tell everybody, don't even go in the sun. Wear all these sunscreens. They're even finding out now that some of the sunscreens are harmful.
Yeah, they're causing cancer.
They're causing cancer. They're causing the very thing that they were trying to avoid.
Yep.
So we've got to get a reasonable amount of sun. We have. If there's no sun, there's no life.
Right. There's a lot of discrepancy against what vitamins we should all be taking, and
Yes.
vitamin D was a good one. And the big thing that people would talk about with vitamin D is it's more of a hormone because it helps regulate hormone function.
That's correct.
And that helps to stimulate some of our our immune response,
Right.
which is why it's so effective against COVID. And they're just not pushing that. They're pushing us to stay inside and be inactive. And I mean that's a huge component not only for our physical but our mental health as well. Staying locked
Vitamin
up.
D is not a pharmaceutical.
Right.
You don't make much money selling vitamin
It's
D.
a dime a dozen. It's free.
And most women, more than 50% of women, when tested, are vitamin D deficient because, of course, they're afraid of their skin,
Right.
that they're going to wrinkle, and it's possible that it's a little tough, can be a little tough on your skin, but you got to get the sun.
Yeah.
If you took the sun away for a week, this planet would be devoid of people and most animals.
Yep.
So we all got to come to realize that it's almost a fad, and I think they're going to have to start backing off on that.
Yeah. What do you think about coming down to what is bodybuilding and your experience with wrestling? I mean, coming from a discipline standpoint, how does that factor into success in life and just people who want to be on another level? How does that factor in?
Well, I think it's a great confidence builder. They say that anybody who ever won the Mr. America or the Mr. Olympia, or for that matter, the Miss Olympia or anything, probably initially suffered from an inferiority complex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that may well be true.
Yeah.
I I think it built up my confidence. It made me feel much better about myself.
Yeah.
You know, I said, well, and when you do that, you've created something. You've created your own body. You've doubled your strength, and you've helped your immune system and every function of the body that changes. So I'm not saying everybody should be a bodybuilder. No, of course not. But everybody's got to exercise, and you've got to do resistance exercise too.
Right.
Even if it's only with the resistance bands, that's even good. That's fine.
Yeah, anything to create some tension, helping the bone structure to develop and stay strong to avoid osteoporosis and those things.
There's another thing.
Yeah.
Osteoporosis. They had all these people like Sally Field coming out for Boniva and all these different medicines. Well, what they found out later, again, the thing that they were trying to prevent, their medicine was causing,
Of course.
which is incredible. And no one wants to talk about that.
No.
Nobody wants to talk about it. There's Fosamax and Boniva, and I don't mean to single those two out, but there's all these different medicines for osteoporosis. And what they were finding, it was breaking, for some reason, the largest bone in the body, which was the femur,
Yeah.
the bone in the upper leg. They were getting these diagonal breaks.
Yeah.
And 99% of the people, male and female, who were getting these were also taking one of those medicines to prevent osteoporosis.
It's pretty incredible. A lot of the medications that we get to help prevent all these things are causing other ailments, just so they can now create a new drug to push on people. Just like, a lot of people don't understand how they can become a diabetic all of a sudden when they're on a statin drug.
Right.
So now they have high cholesterol, and instead of exercising and changing their diet up
Yep.
properly, well, you put on this medicine to lower the cholesterol. It triggers a poor functioning pancreas, and now you're diabetic. Now you have to start taking insulin.
Exactly.
And that cycle just starts, and it's a tough one to get off of.
But it's a tough one to tell anybody, too.
Yeah.
Really. It's gone to the point where a lot of people are asking for statins who haven't even got high cholesterol because they think it's going to be good for their heart and good for their brain.
Right.
But they could do themselves a lot of damage
Yeah.
by taking statins. But here again, this podcast that we're doing here today, I don't think is going to change the world.
No.
Maybe we'll get somebody that's going to listen to it,
Yeah.
and if we can just help one or two people, I think it would be a pretty good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, going back to what you said about Charles Atlas, we're the sculptor of our own
Yes.
body, our own destiny. I mean, that's what bodybuilding is. That's what fitness is. It's just being able to you take responsibility for yourself, and it's about being regimented and disciplined, and not just with that routine, but just in life.
Right.
And it's such a big thing that I think so many people neglect. And there's too much misinformation out there.
Well, people think the answer is in a little brown bottle.
Yeah.
Okay? And the answer is not in a little brown bottle.
It's simple, but not easy, right?
Right, exactly. Exactly. And there's more harm being caused. I read somewhere, and it was a credible source, that one of the major causes that people have to go to nursing homes, that they lose their independence.
Yeah.
Because of too many prescription medicines that just all interact and actually destroy their health.
Yeah, and the fact that the generation going into those nursing homes never really had bodybuilding and fitness wasn't as popular as it was. Back in that era. I mean, was there. It was just getting started.
Oh yeah, it was there.
Popular.
But believe it or not, in the 1950s, number one, there was no gyms in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
There was not a single gym in Buffalo, New York. Bodybuilding was associated with the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Muscle Beach, Venice Beach. That's where, and the people that did it were kind of kooky.
Yeah.
When I went into my first bodybuilding contest, I think I was like 17 years old, and I knew most of the guys in the room on a first name basis because we all worked out of the downtown YMCA.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were all considered freaky.
Yeah.
Because real man didn't lift weights, I mean, that was just silly. The doctor even told my mother, he said, "What, he's lifting those weights?" He says, "What does he want to do, join a circus?" That's where it was. That's where it was in 1950s.
And it's incredible the misinformation that's still out there. That's just from an MD standpoint saying, nothing against him, but when you're telling something about not lifting weights back then,
right?
Then even nowadays they kind of tell you to rest, and don't do this. But they don't know as much as people think they know about soft tissue injury and recovery and rehab.
They
and
don't
medical
know.
aspect.
They don't know. And it all stems back, we could go on, we could talk here for hours about why.
Yeah.
And but the point is that they didn't know, because any of us know is what we're taught.
Right.
And if you somebody that you respect, and you respect their intellect and what they tell you, then that is the truth.
Yeah.
That's the word. But unfortunately, that's not true. For example, and they will tell you, see your doctor about your diet. Well, the real point is, any doctor probably over the age of 40 has never taken a nutrition course in his life or her life.
Yeah.
And right now, they're optional.
Mm-hmm.
Even at the Harvard, it's an elective. You can take it if you want to,
Yeah.
But you don't have to take it. It's not important.
Yeah, that's something, a big thing that I see is people who are being told that they need surgeries, or they're getting imaging studies done. And as physical therapists, it's, we don't really use those studies. We don't use imaging studies. It's more so based off of signs and symptoms for everyone and what's going on, how your movement is. As we start to correct the movement and we start to see those signs and symptoms kind of dissipate, well, were the studies really necessary, or was that surgery really necessary? Because you can correct back surgery. Let's say, for example, it's the biggest problem people in this country face around the world. You can correct back surgery with surgery, or back pain with surgery, and they can still be in pain, if not even worse pain.
I've seen worse pain.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, most of what I've seen is worse.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that to criticize orthopedic doctors, by no means. I don't know of hardly any cases where the person was better.
It's a very small percentage that I've seen. Anyone coming out of back surgery, they have consistent pain, and honestly, the work that they have ahead of them is even more than it would have been had they taken care of it from a standpoint of less invasive.
Exactly.
Rehab and learning how to strengthen their muscles appropriately.
Exactly.
And that's something that I find a lot of, is people are jumping to that, or they're not, and they're taking conservative measures. But the problem with the conservative measures is they go to see a physical therapist at a traditional clinic, or a massage therapist, or a chiropractor, and they're getting locked into multiple visits with a chiropractor, or only so many visits with a physical therapist, and nothing's being done.
Right.
Because the insurance is dictating everything on physical therapy side. You're not really working with the PT. They're not really training you how to move. They don't have the time. They don't have the means. The insurance isn't paying for that.
Right.
And then chiropractic, they'll keep you going forever.
I know.
Without much change. And then massage is good for some things, but again, there's more to it than just doing muscle relaxation.
Well, you're talking to a massage therapist, and you're right.
But
absolutely.
And in your experience, though, of working with physical therapy and conversations you and I have had, you see that there's a bit of a separation there.
And I think the combination of the two
100%
is excellent.
100%.
Yeah.
I would agree. I always recommend it for any patients that I see to continue on with any of their massage services.
Exactly right.
Because you get stiff, but once you know how to move and you can sense that it's off and you need it worked out, the massage therapy will help take care of that. And then you restore that function on your own.
Right.
That's what we're doing, is educating people.
Right.
A whole lot. That's it's an interesting viewpoint that we all have with medicine in our system currently. When it comes to just overall longevity, I mean, you said earlier you're gonna be 87.
Yeah.
And you're still kicking around like,
Yeah, actually,
87 is the new 40, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's really true. Maybe I'll make it that way. Anti-aging, there's a whole field of medicine called anti-aging, but it's kind of laughed at, and they say, "My God, can't people age naturally? Why? What's wrong? Everybody since man has begun. Can't we just age the way nature intended? Not if you don't have to."
Right. Science.
That's and the science is not within the traditional medical community.
Mm-hmm.
The science is out there. There's many things we can do to live longer. One of the things that really hurts a lot of people are chronic diseases. The overlying, I believe, the overhead, I should say, umbrella for all chronic diseases, or for much chronic disease, is obesity.
Yeah.
People literally kill themselves with their knives and forks.
Yeah.
Yes. And kidney problems, high blood pressure, diabetes. So many of these things are caused by body weight.
Yeah.
And people, there's gyms everywhere, there's diet foods, there's all kinds of things on sale, there's all kinds of articles every day, there's things on television, on the radio. We're fatter than ever.
And you know what? There's a lot of convolution with all of that.
Yes.
There's too much misinformation. It's confusing to people. And I think that there's a lot of diets out there that are so confusing that no one knows really what to do. But when you look back at, the early days with McFadden and Atlas and Sandow
Yeah.
and those guys coming up, their diets were really simple, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Basic diets.
And they
You know what I
trained.
But the big thing too is processed foods.
Right.
I mean, processed foods are a killer. We sell things in this country, foods, things that help grow foods, GMOs, all the things. In some cases, we're the only country in the world that allows those.
Yeah.
Some of those things they can't even have in Europe.
Right.
Some of the processing ways that we do our food are not even allowed in any of the European countries.
Yeah.
But for us, that's fine. I mean, I have to look at organizations like the FDA and even the CDC and everything. I believe that they're all stacked. Well, for our utilities, for our gas and our light,
Mhm.
we have something called the Public Service Commission. Public service is the last thing that they are. Many people on that commission are former employees
Yeah.
of the utility companies.
Right.
And many people in the FDA have ties to the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
I mean, this is that's putting the fox in the hen house.
Yep.
I mean, it's absolutely, and we're just, I guess we're a couple of little guys, sitting here talking, and so what do they know? I mean, and there's great things happening in medicine.
Of course.
My God, things like stem cell therapy and things like that. Certainly, anybody would be a fool to mock modern day medicine. But I am very much inclined to say that the pharmaceutical company are really suspect in a lot of what they're doing.
I agree. And what was the conference you went to out in San Diego, and what was that about?
It's radical life extension.
Okay.
And I'm glad you asked me that. I can
That
tell
ties
you.
into a little bit of everything we just kind of brought up.
It's a little bit of a story, but I'll tell you. And everybody, if they're listening, grab a pencil, and you can write down the name Ray Kurzweil, Kurtzweil. Ray Kurzweil was a child prodigy. He was, from a musical standpoint, brilliant. His IQ was in the stratosphere. But most people have never heard of him. Just to give you a little example, he went through 4 years at MIT
Mm-hmm.
in 14 months.
Wow.
He had personal meetings with Albert Einstein at Einstein's request.
Mm-hmm.
He invented the electronic keyboard.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact,
Crazy.
one of them bore his name, the Kurzweil
Okay.
keyboard. And then Moog was real big in using his designs to make their keyboards. So all the musicians out there playing keyboards, Ray Kurzweil invented the electronic keyboard. What has that got to do with health? Right now, Ray Kurzweil, again, you can look him up, he is chief engineer at Google.
Wow.
Chief engineer. You might ask, what's this got to do with longevity? His job at Google is to work on ways to extend life.
And it's interesting that these big corporations are investing in that.
Because the payback on it is going to be enormous.
Oh, yeah.
I just have a little bit of fear that this life extension will be the property of the wealthy. Okay? Because certainly we're already developing a population problem.
Right.
Okay? And I think that this will be the domain of the wealthy. I hope not. What he is working on is something you can take. He's working on microscopic robots that will replace our immune system.
Wow.
And these robots will go in, and it sounds like science fiction, but please look it up.
Yeah.
Please believe what we're telling you, folks, because this is absolutely
A
true.
lot of things that were science fiction back in the day are now reality.
I remember watching Flash Gordon,
Yeah.
and they used to make chapters where you could see somebody on a screen,
Yeah.
and that was made in the 30s.
Yeah.
Okay, that was television. And at any rate, Kurzweil himself is getting up there. I think he's 76 or 78. He's pretty well convinced he won't have reached his goal till 2045.
Wow.
So how can he guarantee himself he's going to live that long?
Yeah.
Look it up. Ray Kurzweil supplements. Look it up. He takes 150 supplements a day.
Wow.
Wow. He believes that your body needs all those things, and he doesn't believe we're getting them in our food.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he takes
Wow.
100.
I'd love to see a list.
It's there.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
We're
just
gonna
look it
that
up. Ray Kurzweil supplements.
We're gonna look that up and put it in the notes. at the
That'd
end
be
of this.
great.
Yeah.
That would be great. He is not some guy on Saturday morning selling you a cure-all. He's not selling snake oil. As a matter of fact, right now, he's not selling anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to sell anything. He's making tens of millions of dollars as chief engineer at Google.
hmm
He believes, and this is a person with an IQ, that's really, again, I'll repeat myself, in the stratosphere. He takes 150 supplements a day.
Wow.
He covers every base,
Yeah.
every nutrient that could possibly be had. Kurzweil is taking them. Am I recommending 150 supplements a day? No. Do I take 150 supplements a day? No. It's something that kind of goes against my logic.
Yeah.
But his logic is probably predicated on facts and things that he knows.
Right.
And he is working as, I guess you might call him a biochemist,
Yeah.
although he's working on electronic things that will go into our body. These things may be biochemical in nature, I don't know. But to replace our immune system, that means we would never die of cancer or liver failure or kidney failure.
Yeah.
Aging would be, and they're learning so much, about aging. But I wouldn't have anybody out there hold their breath till 2045, because my fear is that this will be something that will be restricted to some people.
Yeah. Is that something that's been discussed at the Rad Fest?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, they got letters saying that the organization was bad for the world.
Wow.
Because of increasing population, and they should let everybody just go their natural way and
Mhm.
kick the bucket whenever they're supposed to. And we are living longer than we've ever lived before.
Well, medications have a lot to do with that.
Yes,
And,
yes.
It's not a little side note too. If that's the case, where we're gonna, live forever. I mean, look at from again a science fiction standpoint, which is now becoming reality of putting man on other planets like Mars.
Oh, that's
Elon Musk wants to do that. Jeff Bezos.
Oh, that's
wants to.
coming.
Yeah.
oh, that's coming.
So if you're living, 6 months is a drop in the bucket. Then if you're living to 150 years old,
Right.
in good health.
Right.
And that's just wild. And I think that a lot of supplementation makes sense because we're basically houseplants.
However, I would suspect that the supplements he's taking are not the stuff that we're going to get on the internet.
No.
Or he doesn't say the brand names of what he's taking.
Okay.
Only that he's taking this and he's taking that and he's taking this. He has the resources, he has the
Of
finances
course.
to compound his own supplements
Mhm.
and have them tailor-made for him.
Yeah.
So, but the fact is that supplements are definitely a factor. We've got to take them, but anybody tells us. I've heard for years, if you eat a balanced diet, you don't need supplements. That's coming from the doctors.
Right.
Okay? Well, the balanced diet that I grew up with was called the food pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
One day somebody looked at it and says, my God, this is the perfect menu for diabetes.
Yep.
The food pyramid was completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we all had to memorize it. We had to draw it on a test. And that was from the FDA. That was from the Department of Agriculture. So who are the experts here, Michael? Who are the experts? And people that followed all that stuff
Right.
paid the price.
Yep.
And then they said, don't eat any animal fat. So we stopped. And they all went to trans fats.
Yeah. It was don't eat the fats because it'll make you fat.
That's right.
When in reality, we need fats.
And our brain needs
brain,
fat. Our brain
absolutely.
needs fat.
Again, this goes back to this type of diet where it's low carb, moderate fat, and high
Mhm.
protein goes back to pre 1960, I think, era, where that's what they were doing.
Hmm.
The only real bad product they would have is like goat's milk, and that
Yes.
was fresh from the goat,
Right.
unpasteurized.
Right.
But yeah, then coming forth through the 60s, it was, they flipped it. There was a lot of, research that I don't think was very accurate that was found, oh, well, fat's going to make you fat. Have bread. And
Yes.
It sparked the diabetic
Yeah.
era.
Remember
we
that
see.
Wonder Bread built strong bodies 8 ways.
Yeah.
That white bread. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we were told an awful lot of BS.
And they were still being told. a lot
Oh,
of
maybe
BS.
more.
You know,
Maybe more today than that.
Again, everyone's got something unique. A keto diet, Atkins diet, the paleo diet. I always tell people if it's not grown naturally on this earth,
Yeah.
if it's man-made,
Yep.
don't eat it.
Right.
We all have our cheat days. We all do things, but
Of course.
we're human.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if man made it, you probably shouldn't be ingesting it.
Right. Right.
Bottom line.
Yes.
Yeah. What is so we're talking about supplements.
Just for this is
Yeah.
what I always found is
Yeah.
funny. If it
Right.
walks and has feet, it's not good to eat.
Yeah, that's a good one. But when it comes to the supplementation and having a good diet and things like that, I mean, there's so much misinformation out there that it doesn't need to be that difficult.
No.
But also in the optimal aging process too, take a look at hormone therapy
Yep.
and how many people and how that even plays a factor in how we look and how we feel,
Absolutely.
and our fitness and our diet and our mindset
Yeah.
as well. So, what was there anything discussed at this RadFest in regards to that? Any doctors working on
Hormone replacement therapy. And for example, well, they've kind of backed off now, I think, a little bit on estrogen therapy. Any woman could get estrogen replacement therapy.
right? It's birth control,
Not true with men.
right?
Go into your doctor and ask for some testosterone.
Much more difficult to get.
Way more difficult to get.
Different process.
It's discriminatory. And they've done some studies which have now been disproven
Mm-hmm.
about the ill effects of testosterone. But they'll announce a study. It'll be on the front page. If they reverse the position, it'll be on page 102.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is that people really. I remember I give talks to the seniors,
Yeah.
and I said, they found out that the thing about eggs was wrong.
Yeah.
You can eat eggs now. And a woman jumped and says, no, you can't. I says, yeah, you can. She says, no, you can't. She says, they got cholesterol in them. And I says, no. I said, the cholesterol in eggs is not necessarily, you don't get cholesterol from eating a lot of cholesterol.
Yeah.
I mean, cholesterol can form in your body just from stress.
Right.
I mean, so.
It's more so found with stress.
Yes.
Stress response with cortisol. So absolutely. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when they made the pronouncements about eggs, they were highlighted. They were spotlighted.
Yeah.
When they revised it, people really wouldn't hold much.
And you know what eggs are high in too? Is B12, which is
Yes.
another vitamin that we're very deficient in.
If you wonder about this, how many older people are getting vitamin B12 shots?
A lot.
But they didn't get those vitamin B12 shots when they were 30 or
Right.
35 because we don't digest our food the way we did
Right.
when we were younger.
Right.
People, I mean, doesn't that dawn on anybody? What really surprises me, there are some people with a lot of very impressive credentials after their name,
Mm-hmm.
and some basic stuff goes complete. Maybe, I don't know what it is, Michael. Maybe it goes right by them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not even thinking. And they're espousing things like critical thinking, take all the factors. Well, they're not doing it.
Right.
They're teaching critical thinking, but they're not thinking critically.
You're right. Exactly. They don't implement what they're saying.
Exactly.
With anything. And they go based off of, well, this is this is it. This is what the book says. This is how it's been forever. Well, anytime you've heard of something being done forever like that, that's a problem.
I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time for a change in that sense, especially when it comes to the diets.
Exactly.
And our viewpoints of working out. Again, with COVID too, it's it's a big factor. We're not getting the sun that we want because everyone's having to stay inside, especially the people up in the Northeast.
Yep.
Or the Northwest and all that. And you're not being active, and it plays a huge role on your mental health. And we're going to tie this into the hormone therapy and the vitamins and the supplementation. All of those things play such a huge role.
Absolutely.
And it's so easy to reverse. There's hundreds of articles. I've ended up doing a rough draft of a book that I titled Exercise, the One Thing for Everything.
Yes.
And I
like that title.
Thank you. I read about 100 articles on the effects of exercise and depression and anxiety. Every single one of them said that pharmaceutical routes should be taken short term while getting put on a regimented exercise plan. And it was so simple. This is the easiest thing that they said for people to do. Take 30 minutes 3 times a week and take a walk and get a good pace going and do that 3 times a week.
Yep.
And you'll start to see yourself with less and less symptoms of depression and anxiety. And that not only does that and you start feeling better, now it's a ripple effect to start working out and feeling better about yourself and hormones.
And working out, we got to tell the older people out there.
Yeah.
It doesn't even mean going into a gym.
Right.
And listening to heavy metal music at 10 o'clock in the morning. It means moving.
Mm-hmm.
It means exercise. And I'm very, very proud to say that I consider myself a friend of Dr. Walter Bortz, who was the assistant dean of medicine at Stanford University.
Mm-hmm.
And one of his famous quotes is, older people don't need to take another pill. They need to take a walk.
Yeah. It's a big factor.
Yes.
And again, look at working out, again, regulates hormones.
Yes.
It does a lot. So some people are naturally low in those things. But, we've had several discussions about the use of testosterone in the past. And not only, not using it as a bodybuilding enhancement.
Oh, no.
Like it's deemed to be something, negative. But from a health standpoint.
From a health standpoint and from a mental standpoint,
yeah,
a lot of older men slip into kind of a malaise, not really depression, but they're not themselves anymore.
Right.
And the reason they're not themselves anymore, because there are things in their bodies that aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
And they've got to replace those things to get back to where they want to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's huge.
This isn't rocket science we're talking about here. If it was, I wouldn't be talking about it. It's just basic, plain fact.
When why do you think it's gotten to be so convoluted then? Like it is simple. None of this that we're discussing is easy to do. It's not easy to go to the gym every day and be consistent and eat healthy. But we make it out.
It actually is though.
It is. You're right.
It is.
It takes. But the hard part is the discipline behind it.
The discipline and. Here's another thing. They have medicines for bad lifestyles. This guy told me, he says, I had heartburn. It was terrible. I couldn't, wish to wake me up at night. He says, boy, I can eat anything I want now. I can eat pizza. I eat hot chicken wings. I got this medicine from the doctor. I don't get heartburn anymore. Yeah. Well, wait, that's not the answer.
Exactly.
The answer is don't eat that crap.
Exactly.
And there's even studies that show some of these heartburn medicines could have an effect on our brain.
Yeah.
And could be causing at least brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We don't want that. We want to eat right.
Yeah.
Can anybody have a pizza once in a while? Of course. You don't have it 4 or 5 times a week. You can't throw all that acid into your stomach.
Right.
I mean, God, I'm not. You know better than anybody, Mike. I'm not a purist, but there's things that have got to be done. It's not rocket science.
Right.
It's just basic healthy living, and we all know what it is, and we don't want to know.
Right.
I saw a movie, black and white movie, probably made in the 30s, about circus life, and the fat lady. They had a fat lady. Of course, it's not politically correct anymore.
We're not a politically correct show. So
no, this is not a politically correct show, folks. So forget everything we say, everything we say is true, but it's not politically correct. And the fat lady in that would not even be considered a freak today.
Yeah.
No. I mean, in the building that I work on, I still do work. Women get on that elevator who I pretty close to being the fat lady in that 1930s movie. I mean, they're absolutely gigundous.
Yeah.
They are big, big people. And maybe that's hormonal, some of it. But a lot of it is just eating and not moving.
Again, hormonal, right?
Yes.
Not moving.
Yes.
The factors all tie into themselves, and it's just something that, again, it's if you can just do a little bit every day and be consistent every day, that compounding effect over time is where you get a lot of change.
Right.
You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and that expression goes a long way when it comes to what we do with health and fitness and, you know, our mental health and everything. Like, these things take a lot of discipline and
they do,
consistency.
but the discipline ultimately is not discipline. If you do it enough,
it becomes habit.
It's habit. That's part of your daily living.
Yeah.
It would be discipline for a lot of people. People who sit down and eat a gallon of ice cream at night and don't get off the recliner. Yeah, that might be hard for them to, you know, but you got to move. If nothing else, if they get nothing else out of this, you don't have to buy another book. You don't have to buy anything. You got to remember two things: eat less, move more.
Simple.
I can put the whole formula on a Post-it note.
Yep.
I mean, it's very, very simple.
It's almost too easy.
It's too easy.
There's an old SNL skit. They say, eat less and move more. And the woman goes, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I say, yeah, eat less and move more. She says, no, that's not it. It's got to be X, Y, and Z.
Oh,
Make it
sure.
all complicated. But you're right. It's simple.
I mean, so many diet books. They're on the New York Times bestseller list. When you get to the middle of the book, the rest of the book is recipes for your, not recipes, but diets, things that you should. Who the hell give some author the right to tell you, you know, eat this and then combine it with this and then do this and then do that? I've been around too long, Michael. I've seen too much, you know, and this stuff is just not right. It's not that hard.
Yep.
We just got to admit to ourselves that we're doing the wrong thing in some cases.
Yeah.
You know? And I correct myself a lot. I say, wait a minute, you shouldn't. No, you're not. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Because we want to live. And not just live, we want to be alive.
Yeah.
And to be alive, you got to feel good. If there's anything bothering you, if you have a nagging pain, or all those things will take down the quality of your life.
Yeah.
And you want to get rid of those things. You want to do it through diet. And if you have these pains and these nagging back aches and shoulder pains, they should be seeing somebody like yourself who can help them and straighten them out.
And there's things where it's not just physical therapy that I do to help people.
Right.
Because in that traditional sense, you know, you're really being given a treatment that is paid for by the insurance companies.
Yep.
So the insurance is actually the one dictating what you're receiving. What do they know? They're just a business.
Exactly.
You know, when I work with people, and the big separation there is working with that person on their specific pain point.
Yes.
And helping them to correct that. So, you know, they want to be healthy. They want to get going, and they are discouraged by the traditional system with everything that it didn't work. I still have pain. I went 8 weeks PT or 36 visits to the chiro, and nothing's helping me.
But the problem is, Michael, in my opinion, they have complete, absolute, unyielding faith in the traditional system. It's either this or it's nothing. And if you think that, you're wrong.
Right.
There are other things that you can do. And again, good health doesn't come in a bottle.
No, it's absolutely not.
It does not.
You know, all that pain and things like that is once you get out of that and you start to move, and you know what I do is teach people how to move correctly,
right,
and safely. Now, over my many years' experience that I learned from you since I was about 15 years old, you passing the torch a little, but it's teaching these people how to move right and how to perform the exercises properly, and giving them basic nutrition information that, you know, this doesn't need to be complicated.
Right.
There's too much crap out there, and they're just blown away. Because, oh my God, no one's done this. I didn't know I could move like that. Like, this is why you are in pain.
Right.
You're not moving right. There's so many other factors that go along with it. And it's just one thing that, you know, they're not getting at the MD. They're not getting anywhere else. And, you know, these people value that stuff, that really want to are sick of it and want to make a big change for themselves.
But the big thing, you got to be sick of being sick.
Yeah.
That's what the thing is. They got to say, well, wait a minute. I've done this for so long. I feel rotten. This is not the way I want to feel.
Right.
Don't you think maybe that's the definition of insanity?
Yeah.
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's what's happening to a lot of people.
Yeah.
They're going to doctors, they're taking these medicines, even the opiates. Like, you know what they're doing.
So, and that's the most unnecessary thing,
I know.
next to injections.
And they've cost a lot of people their life.
Yeah. It's not the people that are taking it. I mean, it's ones who get their hands on it for other uses. But I've seen people on 30 milligrams of morphine pills.
I know.
Twice a day on top of Percocets.
I have a niece who was an RN and a damn good one. She hurt her back lifting patients, and they tried to work with her. Oh, she got a back operation, and she was worse. Exactly what you were talking about earlier in our conversation. They put her, and she's been on it now for about 20 years, a morphine drip.
Wow.
It changed her looks.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was a couple of years since I saw her, but not when I see her. Her body was almost twisted.
Yeah.
From this.
It takes a toll.
Oh my God.
You're having to work very hard now to process all those things, and
and she's a nurse, given it to her and given to her by doctors who she knew and worked with.
Yeah.
So they obviously didn't know. I'm certain that they wouldn't want to inflict pain or the type of thing that she's experienced now.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
Yeah, we don't ever want to do that, and that's why it's so important to, for us to have these conversations.
Exactly. Because
people don't know that there's other options. They don't understand that they're moving wrong, and they think that's such a simple fix that just anyone can do that. And that's not the case. A personal trainer is not going to teach you how to move right. They don't know anything about your medical history or what to do if and when they do hurt you.
I have to knock even some personal trainers. They really don't know what they're doing. I've gone into gyms and I've watched personal trainers, especially bringing the older people around.
Mm-hmm.
They're making moves they should never, ever make. They're making moves that they make. And it's not the same. I can speak to this firsthand, in the first person. You don't do things, I'm not doing things today that I did when I was 25.
Right.
Because they destroy my body.
Yeah. And again, it's correcting that movement. Those people might be able to do those certain things. And I think that we all need to know how to squat down.
Yeah, of course.
And bend appropriately. But if you're not able to teach that and someone's just doing it the way they've always done it, again, there that is. We've always done it this way. No.
Right.
You're going to be very sorry you did it that way.
Right.
But there's good and bad in everything too.
Of course.
But I agree. I've seen some of them where it's just, oh my goodness.
Well, I've seen people really destroy their health trying to get fit.
Yeah.
I mean, really. And it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. It's just, the key word here is information.
Yep. And
they haven't got the right information. They haven't got the right instruction. And that is critical.
Yeah.
Just absolutely critical.
Yeah, it's a big component of everything.
Yes, it is.
A lot of times, too, last point I'll make is when people suffer from these injuries and they're in pain and now on medication or having an injection, well, they're still moving wrong. Or, if you maybe weren't moving perfect, you were still moving incorrectly, but now it's even worse.
Right.
Because your body forgets. You start to create a new pattern in the brain.
Sure.
And at that point, that's even worse than the original injury because we're trying to protect ourselves.
Right.
And you have to literally teach someone.
And that's not easy.
No, it's not.
It's hard to teach and it's hard to learn.
It's hard to learn. But when they get it, it's like, I can't believe I was doing that wrong.
I know.
And they feel They feel the difference.
Of course.
And that comes from good instruction. And,
of course.
And awareness. And that's the biggest component is, I think, that we can get out there today is awareness. Awareness about your diet, your mental health, what it takes to correct these things in fitness. Because if you're not aware, you don't know how to change it. And it doesn't need to be complicated.
What I'd like to do, but I guess we're at the end, and I'd like to just say that I'm really very proud that I had something to do with your career choice.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm even more proud in the direction that you've taken it, Michael.
Yeah.
You can help a lot of people.
Yeah, it's been, like I said, since 15 years old, got involved with the bodybuilding.
I know.
And weight training. I mean, I got my first bench because of you.
Yes.
And then directed into
you're a great guy, and I know that your main interest are your patients.
100%.
I know that. and I know that. I can nobody knows me, so, but I'm just telling you that I'm very, very happy at your choices and that direction that you're taking your profession.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
My pleasure. That was good talk.